Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Worldhoppers, which is a collaborative YouTube channel where we bring together all sorts of different booktube creators to chat books. And today we are doing a fantastic book tag. It is called the Contradictions Book Tag, and it was originally created by Only If For a Page. So we'll make sure to link her channel down below so you can check out the original creator. But we're going to just talk about some contradicting opinions about some of our least favorite and favorite books. But before we get started, we have a new world hopper on the video who needs to introduce himself. So Klaus, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Klaus, aka the Angry German, formerly the Chosen One. Some people call me the Gordon Ramsay of BookTube, others call me the Antichrist of BookTube. My channel is the Contradictorian. I read fantasy and praise his fic of Dorothy Dunnett, and that's all I do with my life.
And contradictions are totally new to you as a concept.
I am very confused as to why I was invited to this live stream, yeah.
I was about to say, recently you had a pretty big contradiction. I was shocked by your Words of Radiance thumbnail.
We will not be talking about that tonight.
Oh, we must talk about this tonight. Okay, so we will get started. And since, Klaus, you're directly next to me, if you want to be the first one to answer the questions, or you can pass it
next to you. You guys are in the same house? That's sweet.
No pressure.
Yeah, don't you know I've moved to
This is why Jesse was having trouble logging in, is because Klaus sabotaging things.
Of course, as always.
The first question we have is, I love this genre, but I didn't like this book. So, Klaus, we'll start with you. Do you have
There's only like one book that you dislike, right?
Yeah, it's kind of hard because I'm only reading like one genre and one book each year. So, but let's just start offending the end by saying "Song of Achilles" by Madeline Miller, because I really like I like fantasy and I like mythology retellings, and I like the other stuff by Madeline Miller that I've read, which is her only other book, Circe. But Song of Achilles didn't work for me. I gave it 1 star, I DNF'd it. Well, basically, I stopped at the middle of the book and then read the ending and decided that I couldn't be bothered to finish reading it. The reason was that the entire romance didn't work for me. So maybe it's just because I don't like romance a lot, and that is a very romance-heavy mythology retelling. But I thought that Patroclus was not the same as in the Iliad, and he was not a person anybody would be in a relationship with because he was just so annoying. I was wondering why Achilles would even look at him, and so that book didn't work for me.
You're
so
heartless.
Spicy. I haven't even read it. I just know it's like
don't
like
listen to Klaus.
Darling.
It's one of the few books Leanna and I both like.
It's also one of the few books that like most humans who read it like.
Not a human.
I've never read it. So
yeah, I need to read it, but we're starting off with the spiciest of spicy opinions, so I love it. Thank you for your answer.
I don't think mine's that spicy, but it's my answer. So I like generally genre bendy, weird sci-fi fantasy stuff. Like the more confusing, the typically I'll get along with it or I'll be patient with it. It's like, so I like Nine Fox Gambit, which is really confusing sci-fi, and I love the Broken Earth trilogy, which is sci-fantasy. I don't know, and I like things with weird narrative framework where you like learn things along the way. But this book, Gideon the Ninth, did not work for me, and that's like 5 genres. Except the one genre they say it is sci-fi, it is not that genre.
So I should take it off my sci-fi shelf.
Yeah.
I hear the second book is more like, sci-fi.
It has some like sci-fi window dressing.
I haven't
like,
read it
you're
yet.
in space.
But like, okay,
it's got 2 chapters.
If we're in a sci-fi book, we assume they have projectile weapons, and that is not assumed in Gideon the Ninth. Like, I'm not saying it has to be fancy high tech, but we are regressed. Like, it's weird. No,
well,
so
you could even have like a regressed sci-fi situation, but like
a post-apocalyptic sci-fi.
I would expect it to explain that a little bit. But Gideon the Ninth is like, what world? We don't care. That's not a question. What?
And it literally, every character, as if it's not confusing enough because it's purposefully being obtuse. Like, that's its goal. Every character has 5 names. And I'm just like, I can't. Like,
you're really making me think I'm not going to like this book.
You keep telling me you like a straightforward narrative. That is not what Gideon the Ninth is.
Oh, dear God. Oh, no. I'm not going to like this book, am I?
Yeah, and then
I would
Hero
be
the Ninth
so
apparently
surprised
gets even worse.
It sounds like
Oh, boy.
Jesse will like it as much as that Jen Lyons book.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Oh, don't take my
Yeah,
answer out. All right. Well, that was a good answer, Angela.
Yeah, I mean, the people who love Gideon the Ninth love it, and I
Yeah.
like that it exists because it's so unique for what it's doing, but it
Well,
does not work for me.
I feel like if you are fine with a book just being vibes and like bantery humor, and that's like all you need, then it's got vibes and it's got banter. But if you're like, where are we? What is happening? Who are these people? If those are questions that you would ever ask, then you will not like Gideon the Ninth.
Well, and also listen to the audiobook if you want the humor, because when I read it with my eyeballs, I didn't know it was funny till I went on BookTube, and people kept telling me how funny Gideon was, and I'm like, was she?
Oh,
But I hear with the audiobook, people have a way better time connecting to the characters.
Oh, see, that's how I feel about Murderbot. I'm like, is this character funny? 'Cause they just
I don't find
No.
Murderbot funny. I find Murderbot relatable. That's it.
Murderbot's boring.
Well, being boring is
find
what relates a
Murderbot
state.
boring.
I see. All right, Leanna, what's your answer?
I mean, do I go with the obvious one?
Do it.
The Way of Kings.
There it is.
There it is.
Because I
Klaus
like
now loves The
long-
Way of Kings.
long epic fantasy is a thing that I like. And I even don't mind unusual narrative structures as long as there's, I can discern some kind of intention behind it. And I really, really hated it.
You did finish Way of Kings, right?
Yeah, I read the whole
okay.
thing.
All 1,001 pages.
Because I was bored through like the first 40% of it before it grew on me.
I was both bored and baffled. And then I just kept hoping because everyone says it's so amazing. I kept reading it going like any minute now it's going to click. Any minute now I'm going to be like, this is why people love it. And then I finished it and I was like, what? What was that?
I love that you were baffled. Like that is just a perfect way to describe it.
The infamous video that I did take down, literally the thumbnail says, I don't get it. Because like that perfectly summed up my feelings. I was like, everyone is like, this is the greatest epic fantasy ever written. This is a classic of our day. And I was like, where? When?
That's so weird. Because like I read it in 2010, and so the internet didn't know about this book yet. I don't even know if the internet really was where it's at as bookish. And like when I read it, I loved a lot of other Sanderson, and I ended up really liking that book. But like I was like, what is this? Where am I going? It's fine. I didn't have a TBR of 50 books. I was just reading The Way of Kings for 2 months. But
Yeah.
Well, also I had just finished reading Mistborn, and people were like, well, if you like Mistborn, like wait till your socks really get blown off because his true masterpiece is Way of Kings. And I was like, well, Mistborn was pretty freaking good. So like, all right, let's do it. And I read Way of Kings,
really
like,
set you up there.
what?
Yeah.
Then Mistborn was way better.
Oh man. Oh, yeah, that's a good answer. That is a good answer. All right. Alex.
So I have two. I'll make Elantris quick because that's the fantasy book that I just DNF.
Oh, very,
like
very
70.
quick aside.
Yes.
The other terrible fantasy book I'm reading currently, there's a place that they keep referring to called Elantris, spelled with an A, and I'm like, is that allowed?
It's illegal, actually, and they will be arrested promptly. So Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, which is known as, I guess, his first technical novel that he wrote. I had already read all of Mistborn and I think Era 1 and 2, and then read Elantris. And that was just a mistake because it was terrible to me. I felt like the writing was bad. The characters were unlikable. The story was boring. The religious zealots were the most annoying characters on the planet. I tried going between the audiobook and the novel, and the audio managed to be even more unappealing. I couldn't do it. So I actually DNF'd it and gave it 1 star.
I
It was terrible.
DNF'd Elantris too, and then looked up what was okay, but what was the answer to this? And then when I won't say what it is, but I looked it up to be like, because I was curious. And when I found out what it was, I was like, I'm so glad I DNF'd it, because if I had read through and that was the answer, I would have been even angrier.
Yeah, there was I really liked the beginning of it was cool. I was like, this concept is great, and then it was just boring. But basically everything that Leanna said about Way of Kings is how I felt reading Ender's Game, which is sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because I kept going through. It's much shorter, so it's much more digestible than Way of Kings. But the entire time, I was just like not invested. I didn't like Ender. All the characters were awful people, and I was just like, when does this become like the greatest sci-fi of our generation? That everyone says it's like the best. It's like the pinnacle of sci-fi. And I finished the book, and I was just like, that was it. That's what you got. That was the best. Okay, sure.
It's going in with those expectations, you know? Like,
Probably.
oh man, that's
partially why I dislike Way of Kings at first too, because everyone was saying it was like the greatest thing ever, and I was like, all right, sweet. And then 40% in, I'm like, is it great yet? Like, if they go on another bridge run, I'm gonna throw the book at a wall. like
this is why, like, when I really love a book, I try, like, in reviews and wrap-ups, when I talk about a book, I'm like, okay, but like, don't read it. And also, like, if you hate this, like, it's not that good about this. And then, like, I mean, I didn't like it to start out with, and like, you might not ever like it, but like, I'm like, because I never want someone going in like, she said it was amazing, therefore page 1 I expect to be blown away. And I'm like, but I mean, like, it takes a minute, and like, just like, give it time.
Right. I know, that's how I feel about Imaginary Friend. I'm like, no one read this, but I love it.
Yeah, I think I didn't mind Ender's Game just because like I read it really fast, but also as reading, I'm like, this is every trope I've already experienced in better ways, so it was not groundbreaking. Like, if you've read any sci-fi book, you know the end of Ender's Game. Like, you'll figure it out.
Not see that coming.
I feel like I could see it, like, for the time that it came out in. I 100% understand why, like, young people reading it at the time were like, oh my god, this is amazing. But now that I don't know, I read it and I was just like, this kind of feels like a kid's book. Like, this is not like,
I mean,
I don't know.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
And Jesse,
mine is Eye of the World, and I feel like it goes back to
Thought you were gonna go with Ruin of Kings. I'm surprised.
I think okay. So here's
no,
the
she
thing
actually
about
loved
Ruin of
that book.
Kings.
She's buying 3 more copies
If I knew,
so that she can figure out why she was confused the first time.
I'm starting Ruin of Kings soon, and I'm so scared.
if I knew,
Have a
going
notepad.
into Ruin of Kings, the way it was told and all of the craziness, like, I would have known that I probably wouldn't have liked it. But like Eye of the World, the way it's pitched, as like a fantasy fan, an epic fantasy fan, you expect to love it going into it. And I expected I was going to love it. And it was the most boring thing I've ever read.
You really have to like Robert Jordan's
It's
writing
like the
style.
worst.
But there's so many leaves and trees and weeds and
If
things.
I had to read one more description about the leaves and the trees and the clothing on their backs, I was going to throw it. And I mean, I've never had a reading experience where the entirety of the book, like, there wasn't even a chunk where it was like, it captured me. I was like listening to the birds outside singing. I was listening to the wind blowing rather than concentrating on the words on the page. It was so
Man, I really wish I could watch some paint dry right now instead of reading this.
I don't know why I didn't DNF it, but I thought, like, what is this? Is Wheel of Time, like, it's supposed to be the best thing ever, and I was like, this is the most boring book. So that one is my answer.
Yeah, and with Wheel of Time, like, I like Eye of the World okay, and I'm now in the slog. I just finished Winter's Heart, which I like Winter's Heart okay, but I think it's because it's short and like things happen. And the beginning of Winter's Heart is like Rand has a goal, and by the end of the book, he accomplishes the goal, and I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of you, and you asked for help. Like, it's such low bar for me right now. I'm just like,
I can't imagine the slog. If I didn't like Eye of the World, I can't imagine.
I'm
You
on like
could be
2.5
one
times
of the
speed on the
weirdos.
audio. I'm just going.
I mean, that's how most people do it. But you could be one of the people that are like, I actually love the slog, and it's better than the first 5 books. I'm just like, what?
Well, no,
Nothing
I think
happens.
I think it just was already slogging for me at book 4, and those are long books, so I was already there.
So what we've learned is that you guys need to read it smarter because
Yeah, because it's the best thing ever.
And I'll read it better.
also
I think Alex
for
is the one who likes it the most of all of us here.
I was
Wheel
gonna
of
say,
Time.
But Wheel
but
of
for
Time?
Ruin of Kings, if you're doing, I don't know if you're planning to do it on audio, Angela, but it does help because like it's like nested storytelling and like it because there's different narrators, which
It's like
helps keep
intentionally
track.
confusing, right?
It is, and so because there's different narrators, because you have 2 different POVs that are like telling the story, but those POVs themselves become other POVs, and then the footnotes are a third POV. So there's like multiple different narrators like telling those different
That
parts, so
sounds
it does
awful.
help to keep track of it.
Well, you know, this
Yeah,
book
it's
is so popular. The audiobook is instantly available at my library. But I have all 5 books, their arcs, because the publisher reached out to me. So I'm hoping I like it because I have all the ebooks for free.
Oh, yeah.
I have
they
book
reached
4 on
out to me,
NetGalley.
and I was like, why?
If I have to study that book while I read it, I'm just gonna stop.
It's like,
Sometimes I'm in the mood for that. It just depends. It's a very mood-driven thing.
If anyone's
Yeah.
seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's like, Pepe Sylvia, where's Pepe Sylvia? It's like that. All right. I rarely read this genre, but I loved this book. Now let's like gush a little bit. So Klaus, let's hear you gush. What do you love?
I can do that too, yeah. I'm gonna say Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio because that's sci-fi, and Liene, why are you looking like
I
this?
was gonna say because like I don't know, it's SFF. So like, do you rarely read that?
I read F, but I don't read SF. So
Okay.
I've only read Dune, and the first 3 Red Rising books, and that is
There
all
you
my
go.
experience with sci-fi.
That's all you need.
So
You're golden.
I'm about to say
Yeah.
that's like
Golden
that's the
Sun.
Sorry,
Okay, I'll leave.
With 2
Oh my
jokes.
God.
Hey.
yeah, so I might probably like Ender's Game because I don't know any sci-fi tropes. But I
Probably.
finished this at the start of February. I gave it 5 stars initially, but I dumped that down to 4 now. But I really enjoyed reading this. Yeah, because it's 4 novellas in a 1 book, basically. It's kind of strange in terms of pacing, but I love the writing style. I love the world he's building. I was confused because there's not a lot of stuff happening in space, just like Gideon the Ninth, basically. They are in space for 2 chapters and traveling, and then they're not traveling anymore. But I love the book. I think it's interesting. I'm invested with the character. I like that it's a frame story that he's telling his life in retrospect, that sort of thing. So I like this book, which doesn't happen often.
There's a lot more space in the sequels. A lot
I
more.
hope
But
so.
also, like, they are on like not Earth
Different
planets the
planets,
entire
yeah.
time, so like it's also not. Like,
Yeah,
it's that kind of
planets
space.
are in space. Yeah, Liene, I know. Thanks.
I just like, so you think the Eye of the World and Empire of
I
Silence
was
are the
surprised that you
same.
didn't bring this up before, but yeah, I gave
I
Eye
just
of the
thought I'd
World
let you
4 stars
explain.
because Liene hated it so much, and I was underhyped for it, and I went in expecting it to be the worst thing ever, and it wasn't. And now every time I read a book 4 stars or higher, she is like, okay, but you gave Eye of the World 4 stars, and I DNF'd the Dragon Reborn. I gave 1 star to The Great Hunt, but that doesn't
And
matter
now
because
you've given Words of Radiance 5 stars, so you think it's better than Empire of Silence.
it is. It is the
Words of
best.
Radiance
It is
was my
the
best read of last year.
fantasy
So
book
good.
written in the 21st century that I have read in my life.
Oh, look at that hype. I mean, I agree. I love Words of Radiance. I'm enjoying
Words
this.
of Radiance is incredible.
So good.
Liene, and you haven't read it, so
Leanna, don't read it. You're not going to be
You're
like
not
Fox
gonna
in this
like
case.
it.
Not gonna happen.
We can change her.
yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Empire of Silence. That's good. That's good.
Ugh.
I
This
won't
one's
say
kind of hard for me because I mean I do have genres I read less of, but I still read usually like 10 to 15 books in each genre, except for the genres I just don't read, like thrillers. So I don't even have like
Hmm.
What about like a
things for
subgenre?
those. So one that I picked is kind of like one that I really don't like to reach for because I typically don't like literary fantasy or literary magical realism because that sometimes gets too abstract or ethereal. I don't know. I sometimes just like don't feel grounded enough, and then I'm also like, what's real? What's a dream? Doesn't matter. It's all just a metaphor. I get very confused. And the one that I do kind of like, and it's kind of like sci-fi fantasy literary, is Exit West, which came out a couple years ago. Yeah, I don't know how many people know about it. It's popular in literary circles, but not like on BookTube. And it's modern day, and suddenly doors appear, and you can go to wherever that door goes in the country. So it essentially asks the question of how do you handle refugees when you cannot control borders? Because you cannot contain people into certain places because these doors will keep popping up. You can keep trying to control the doors, but people will keep finding new doors and they'll end up in other countries. So you don't have this ability to contain people. And you follow this moment in this future history through the lens of these 2 refugees who are from the Middle East. You're never given a country. And you follow also, not only they're traveling through this tumultuous time, but their like relationship and how they kind of fall in and out of love. I really love it. I gave my copy away and I regret it because now I have to buy another one because it's one of those books that I read 5 years ago and I still think about it so much.
When you say you gave it away, was it like here, I love this, you should read it too, and they didn't give it back? Or you were like, I'll give it away?
This was back when like I didn't really collect books. I would buy books because I had to for book club because they weren't available at the library. And I really liked it, but I'm very much a person where if I think someone else will also like a book, I just want to like shove it at them.
Yeah.
So,
that's why you own like 10 copies of your favorites. So you can be like, oh, you haven't read it? Well, look what I have here.
Yeah, that's why, Leanna.
And I mean, I can easily get another copy. Yeah. And I don't know if I'll reread it either. It's just one that like sticks with me.
That's a good one. Yeah. That sounds really good. All right, Leanna.
I definitely don't read very much romance except for when I'm forced to by my
First law.
So I mean I end up being forced to read romance, but like I don't seek it out. But one of my all-time favorite books of all time ever is Radiance by Grace Draven.
Oh wow.
And it's like it's very, very short, partly because the characters don't have any like miscommunication. There's none of this like weird angsty drama where they like you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Just, like I feel like every single romance has. This book is like barely like I don't think it's 300 pages. I think it's less than 300 pages because like they just communicate immediately from the very beginning, very healthily, very effectively. And I always talk about that book and refer to it as like I just like really like hanging out with Brishan and Ildiko because they're just like fun, funny, have a good vibe. There's none of this like, well, I cannot even tell him what I think of that. And he's like, I wonder what she's thinking. Does she hate me? No, they're just like, anytime there's like a weird situation, they're like, was that weird? Like, yeah, it was weird. Okay, well, I'm glad you told me. Like, it's like that the whole time. So A+.
That sounds great. I actually had someone recommend that to me recently.
Well, it's kind of like a double Beauty and the Beast too, because it's like two different. He's like a magical species, so it's kind of like he doesn't look like a person, and then it's both perspectives. So like she's kind of horrified by his appearance, and he's horrified by her appearance, and she's like a human red-haired female.
Whoa.
And like from his perspective as well, he's like they're not into things that don't look like their species either. So like their eyes are kind of like all one orb. You don't have like pupils. And he thinks it's so weird that you can see her eyes moving around. He's like, it looks like there's like parasites in your face that are moving. And she like purposely crosses her eyes to freak him out. And he's like, please don't ever do that. So it's like really funny.
That is interesting.
It's been on my list for years. I just haven't been in the mood when I've had it out of the library because romance is very much I need to be in the mood and want to like.
Well, it's not angsty, so.
It's true, but not all my romances have to be angsty. It's not always Sarah J Maas.
Yeah. All right, Alex.
I was actually looking at what I read. I'm gonna go with Salem's Lot because it's the only, I guess, like horror thriller, like proper novel that I've read, and I loved it. And it was actually my introduction to Stephen King and his writing. And if you love characters and you just want to read about like a small town where you learn about every single person, and there's also a vampire horror novel in there too. It's fantastic. A lot of the people are garbage, but he's very good at writing like very specific, like US based people.
Yes.
And a lot of them are completely awful, but it's got the vampires aren't like in your face. Honestly, a lot of it's like a lot of like behind the scenes stuff, and it's just like a slow kind of dread thriller, like creeping in amongst the story that's happening. And I just think he did a very good job of causing you to be uncomfortable in certain scenes. Like I don't think I would get scared in a book, but he does genuinely create creepy scenes. Like if you're walking through like a basement of a house and that there's something there, like he does that incredibly well. Like he's great with the atmosphere and building tension. So I love Salem's Lot, and it's gotten me to read a lot more King, which I could honestly say The Dark Tower because it's batshit crazy. And even though it's fantasy, it's like I don't know what to compare it to because it's insane.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Salem's Lot was like one of the first books I accidentally DNF'd before I knew that was a term because I read it when I was 15 and like one of the characters was about to be real dumb and I didn't want to deal with the stress of that character being really dumb. And so I just put down the book and I just never went back. Like, it wasn't badly written. I just, like, I knew what was going to happen. It was like watching a horror movie and wanting to yell at someone. I was just like, I don't want to deal.
Yeah, what I've noticed about Stephen King is usually the scariest part of his books is the humans. The, like, horrible humans that he writes that exist.
They're terrible.
Are very realistic. It's very scary. All right. I rarely read horror, but I love Imaginary Friend. Okay. Like, I wish I had a better answer, you guys. I really wish.
You've never mentioned that book, Jesse. I had no
one
idea that you
read
liked it.
Please, no one read it. No one pick it up. You will hate it. Everyone will hate it.
Every time you say that, like, I never wanted to pick up that book before. I'd heard you and a couple other people talk about it, but then every time you're like, but don't pick it up, I'm like, what if I'm that person?
Like, don't tell me what to do.
I know, like, reverse psychology on you.
I get a little rebellious. I just, like, kind of want to try.
Yeah, I tried getting, like, one of my, like, not real life friends, but, like, here in town, one of my friends to pick it up and was like, please don't read it, but it is my favorite. And she's like, I'm gonna try it. Jesse, like, I want to read your favorite book. And she was like, I put it down after like 300 pages. What the hell, Jesse? Like, she was like, that was really messed up. Like, why do you like that book? It's like, I told you not to read it, so no one read it. All right.
At least she put it down. When my partner picks up a book he doesn't like, he forces himself to finish it. And I'm like, I feel bad. Just stop. Just stop reading the book. It's not that important.
Life's too short.
Yeah. All right. I love this trope, but I didn't like this book. Do you have a good answer for this?
I have an excellent answer, but it'd be more fun if Alan was here. So I'm going to say Traitors Blade by Sebastian de Castel. There are a lot of tropes in this book. First book in the Great Code series. There is Here Comes the Cavalry. There is established friendship group traveling on a quest. All that sort of, there's a romance, if you want to call it a romance. There's a lot of stuff, and all of it is executed as poorly as I've ever seen it in my life. I've read it 2 times because I've read it in German like 6 or 7 years ago. So ages before I was as critical as I was now, or as I am now. And it was the first book I ever did after my life. The second one was The Way of Kings, but I reread it last year. It was as bad as I remembered. It was completely stuff just started happening at the end of the book. If it had a good ending, then I would have been fine.
Purge.
The ending was amazing.
The ending was just a big mess. Stuff happened because it needed to happen. I just
if
couldn't
every
take it.
predictable fantasy trope doesn't bother you, then you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you like Deus Ex Machina, you'll love Traitors Blade.
Yes. And Alan keeps saying that it's all explained in book 2. You just have to read book 2. But I
don't think anything can explain the super weird things that are in Traitors Blade. Nothing can explain that. Nothing.
No, so
you mean the nun?
No one supports that. No one supports Athalia.
No.
I also loved Traitors Blade. I actually almost DNF'd the 3rd book in that series because it went totally off the wall. And then they kind of came back around in book 4. But yeah, Traitors Blade has a lot of like, oh, that's convenient. Oh, they're here. Of course they are. Why wouldn't they be? It's not going to get explained. Cool.
In Lightbringer, that's how the last book in the Lightbringer series is. It's like, oh, that's how the magic works. That's nice. Like.
And there's even a huge plot hole in the Lightbringer world building. Just don't. I like Lightbringer series a lot, but don't think about it.
I know, I do too, but I'm like,
just don't do it. It's bad.
That's a good answer. I wish Alan was here. If Alan comes in, we'll
bring it around. We'll let him know which
books.
But
which trope did you not like? Just all of the tropes?
All of the tropes. I usually like Here Comes the Cavalry.
I love this trope. Which trope do you typically love?
I love the trope Here Comes the Cavalry.
Oh, okay,
I love it because it's done so well in Lord of the Rings.
Yep. Because they set it up.
You have to set it up. You have to tell us they are coming, they can save them. And then you have to build all of the other stuff to distract us from that. And you have to kill people and have armies attacking. And all hope is lost. And then they are coming. But in Traitors Blade, they are just coming. And there's one small hint beforehand. And that is so ridiculous to figure out that nobody figures it out ever. So it just doesn't work.
Yep. It's very true.
So I can't argue. All right.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have strong ones, like, because normally when I don't like a book, it's not because of tropes, or it's normally the opposite question where I don't like a book because it's a trope I don't like. But the one that I thought of, and I don't think anyone's read this book either, but I usually like the amnesia trope. I usually think it can be a fun premise for like a quick read. Like if it's like a 300-page book and we have like an amnesia character, I'm like, this could be a fun, like, I binge this out in a few days sort of read. That's my expectation. I'm going to be intrigued. There's already a mystery built in. Let's go. And I read The Stars Are Legion by Cameron Hurley, who I think she's more well known for The Light Brigade, which is the book with the green cover and the people going in. I love that book. Yeah. That book's very fun. The Stars of Legion is so boring. It is just a dreadfully boring, like, just because they don't have their memory. I mean, I guess technically maybe you lose your memory, you lose your personality. There's a lot to be said there maybe, but I hated their personality. They were so boring. I didn't know why they were doing whatever they were doing. And the world was so cool, but also boring because of how it was executed. So I was just like, how did you write The Light Brigade? Like, I was so baffled because it was only 2 years before. Like, oh man. And The Light Brigade has a similar confusion plot arc because it's a very non-linear story. So I was annoyed.
Oh no.
So,
oh no. It's one way
to Stars Are Legion. If you like The Light Brigade, it will not satisfy you. It is not a good use of the amnesia plot.
Because it's just a good amnesia trope as well when it's done well.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's part of why I haven't picked up Project Hail Marys, because I was burned by The Stars Are Legion earlier this year, and I know that has an amnesia trope, but I'm like, do I like it anymore? Was it just this book? Like,
I'm so scared to talk about Project Hail Mary because Jess hates it so much, but you should totally read it. It's amazing.
I couldn't remember the name of it, but when you said you liked Amnesia, have you read Infernal by Mark Dieger?
I think I've heard you talk about it.
Yeah, because I think, well, I didn't like it in the end, but the beginning opens with amnesia, and I was surprised by how well that was handled. I was like, oh, like this could be so stupid, but I feel like you're doing this really in an interesting way. And then it was after we got over amnesia and the plot got to be normal that I was like, oh, I don't like this anymore. So the amnesia part was fantastic.
I only like it in really short, like page turner books, because like I think if you take it too long, it can get a little weird and like overstay its welcome. That's what I had.
Yeah. Liana?
So I really like criminals and heists, and especially like drawn out heists that like are a big part of it. That like it's not just like a quick thing where like a lot of the plot is devoted to like the intricacies of like having to have like a false identity and how to get the thing to get the other thing and blah 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 blah. And I really hated Mask of Mirrors.
I knew that was coming when you started that way, and I was so sad.
Oh no! Oh no! Poor Angela.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh no. Okay.
That's what we cover though.
I mean, you could keep talking about it.
I feel like
he's waiting for the pain to sink in, and then
I don't feel like without like going into like specifics that are spoilery, I can't really say things other than like really insulting things, like thinking that it's stupid and not well done and blah blah, and like that's just mean, and I can't really back that up without spoilery things. So I'm just like, I don't think any of it was good.
Oh, I'm gonna be doing a like subscriber recommendation video, and that's one of the like most highly.
It ain't no Lies of Loch Lamora, I'll tell you that.
Well,
whenever people compare it to Lies of Loch Lamora, I'm like, have you read both books? Because I would never do that if you like this, like you would like that. Because they're written very differently.
In fairness, though, like, and I understand this better, but when people compare Six of Crows and Lies of Loch Lamora, I'm like, okay, but the thing I get out of them is so different that like I wouldn't compare them. Like, I get why you're making that comparison. But like they are so different in tone and vibe and like what they're trying to do that like no.
Yeah, I think you might like it, Jessie. I
might.
I didn't want Liana to read it, but someone in my Discord betrayed me and said, "Oh yeah, I recommended it for Liana to read on Patreon." I'm like, "Why? Why did you do that?" They told me. They told me. They went out of their way. And then my friend Evie sent her the book.
Oh my goodness. The ultimate betrayal.
Well, I didn't have to buy it. I like that.
Anyways.
All right, Alex. What do you got?
Similar to Klaus, I'm going to go with there's a lot of tropes in this book, and it was The Dark That Dwells by Matt Digman and Ryan Roddy.
Oh, no.
It was supposed to be like a sci-fi fantasy blend, and while I like the atmosphere and the setting of a lot of things, it just like fumbled its way through all the things, just like super powerful artifacts, chosen ones, reluctant heroes, mustache twirly villain. Like everything was so comical to me that like I was struck. It took me like months to read this book, and I eventually put it down because like I kept coming back to it, and I was like, why do I not like this? Like I should like all of these things, and I didn't at all. And I finally had to stop reading it because I was just like, this is just bad. And normally, it's not really a trope, but I like a lot of combat in books. But
that's why you like Rage of Dragons, right?
Exactly. But this combat felt like it was a video game, and you were just going from random encounter to random encounter with like random dialogue in between, and there was no purpose to anything. So like 200 pages into the book, I'm like, why are they still fighting, and why do I care? I don't know who anybody is, and they're just battling random things.
Sounds like the Rise of Skywalker to me.
Exactly.
Oof.
Ooh.
I'm going to tell Hillary that you randomly just stabbed a dagger right into a Star Wars film.
Pretty sure she does not like Rise of Skywalker
yeah,
if she is a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Is this Alan? Wait, I can't.
I told him to get in here when Traitors Blade slander happened, but
and we're still on this. Okay, bring it back to Klaus.
To catch you up, Alan.
I can't stay long.
Traitors Blade.
Okay,
I can't. Okay, I know that. Like, why do y'all freaking like antagonize me? Like, hey, welcome, Alan. Klaus hates this book. Like,
it's because Klaus
I will go right back to hanging out with my company. Like, seriously, I have freaking guests in my house.
Specifically lamented you not being here in that time. He was like,
why? So that Klaus could insult me, even though I messaged him on Voxer 12 hours ago to ask him a question about a book he actually likes and doesn't respond. Do you only respond when you're telling me how you hate stuff, Klaus?
I was busy 12 hours ago. I had a football match that we lost, so
But you're not busy at 3 a.m.
Oh, now, yeah. Give me your thoughts. I can give you my thoughts now, Alan.
I don't want your thoughts now. I am glad that you liked it, though.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Alan.
As always.
I love this trope, but I didn't like this book. What's your answer?
I don't know. While I was listening to y'all talking, I was like, I don't have an answer for this. I mean,
Siege of Tilpool.
The problem is I like most of what I read, and if I didn't like it, it's probably because it had something I didn't like in it. I can't think of something that I liked.
I know you love leaning, but you don't love Sarah J. Maas, right?
That's not true. That's not true. The problem is I can't really think of a book I didn't like a lot. So.
Well, wait, you don't love the Powder Mage trilogy, but it has a lot of tropes you do like.
Oh, thank you. That's excellent.
That's a good one.
So I like, I mean, I don't really know the tropes it uses. Like, I guess
it is more of a genre question, but you missed the genre one, so we'll just.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I like that genre, and I like what it does, but I just don't like its execution. Okay, a trope: siblings on opposite sides of a conflict is in Ashes of the Sun, and it just didn't click with me. It's too much like Star Wars, which I don't really like. And he said that his main influence is Star Wars, and I think and other people really like it, and it's not bad. I like Django Wexler, but it didn't click for me. I have the second book. I need to read it, but that's probably because a lot of it was overridden by the danger makes me horny trope, which I hate. And one of the main characters is just like, oh my gosh, we're about to die. We should make out. I'm like, come on. Like, let's freaking go. Like, let's just go.
Is that a frequently occurring thing in books?
I have seen it.
Is.
It actually is. Yeah. It actually just happened in Fall of Hyperion when we were reading it this week. So
yeah.
It's
in a lot of like TV and movies too.
Yeah. Like, one last kiss before the battle. Like,
we're in danger, so we need to do it. It's like, just go. Like, freaking go see a therapist.
I actually have an answer for this. Has anyone read The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling?
Didn't you DNF that at 90%?
90%. I had like 30 minutes left in the audiobook, and it was like an 8-hour audiobook. And
That's 30 minutes and you bowed out?
So mad at it that I was like, I will not dare finish this book. Boom. And I hit the stop button.
You can't even 2x it and go 15 minutes? Yeah.
I usually love sci-fi horror, any sort of alien, anything like that, like survival stories. This was the most boring book. It was sold as sci-fi horror. There was no sci-fi. There was no horror. It was two characters arguing at each other the entire time. There was
That's
like
hilarious.
I kept waiting. Where is the horror? Like they're in a cave. It sounded so
See,
cool.
the horror is actually very meta because you are horrified at reading this book.
Yes, correct.
Oh, is it the new House of Leaves? Like,
What trope did Klaus like about Traitor's Blade that he didn't like the book? What is it? Was it Here Comes the Cavalry?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how I felt about Time of Courage. I was over it. Like I feel so bad.
That is a good one. Oh, I should
like
use that.
I felt so bad. It just took me forever.
You
It
can
was a
say
long
that
time.
about all of Blood and Bone.
Oh, that's a bummer because I'm so excited to read that. But
Oh, let me do this one first.
yeah, go for it, Alan. I hate this trope, but I loved this book.
Okay, love triangle, but in the Long Price Quartet, it is handled extremely well.
I thought you were going to
Like,
say
it is-
Thorns and Roses.
It is handled no. It's handled extremely well in Long Price Quartet. I can't really talk about it more, but it's just handled really well. To where well, and Daniel Abraham he does this in more than one of his books, but I think he just writes them really well because they're not stupid. Like they're not just there to create conflict. They're there as a natural extension of these characters' personalities and emotions, which I think is the problem. I think love triangles often are just put there to be like, oh, let's create some, just like the freaking murderous bully, which I'm so freaking over. Like, can people not be in an academic setting and not have someone who wants to murder the main character?
That is a very, very common trope.
I'm so over it. So that's mine.
That's fair.
I'm sorry if I stole yours, Klaus.
Klaus, you want to go?
Yeah, I hate love triangles. And I didn't pick Long Press Quartet because I knew Alan was going to say that. So I picked Guns of the Dawn because it also has a love triangle. It's not at the heart of the narrative, but it's there. And I love the execution of it because it's never really the focus of the entire thing. It's just there in the background, where I like to keep my romance there in the background. So I love that book. I think it's awesome. I don't think anybody here dislikes it who has read it.
I don't know if I've
So
read it.
I don't think Jesse knew that you gave it 5 stars. He definitely gave it 5 stars, Jesse.
I give it 5
I'm
stars.
so happy Klaus likes a book I like.
I know. I was shocked too.
I've never made someone happy. I'm confused. But it was the first Tchaikovsky I've ever read, and it was my favorite Tchaikovsky, and it carried me through all 4 of our read-along books for Shadows of the Apt.
Klaus, you didn't hate all of them. You're coloring every one of them with your experience with the 4th one.
And the 3rd one, which I mercifully gave 3 stars, I think, as I am. But
I mean, if that's the end of an arc, I understand retroactively not liking things if the ending doesn't stick the landing. That's very much my vibe.
I like the first book. I like the entire world, the concept, but the execution was, it just had things I don't like. It was bad.
It wasn't bad. You can't just say it had things I
Don't
don't
tell
like.
Klaus how he feels.
Leanna, Leanna, please. Jesse.
So I actually had other ones that weren't as good, and then Leanna had her answer for the last one. So I typically don't like heist stories. My least favorite part about Mistborn's first book is that it's a heist, and I actively only like heists in movies. And so I was shocked when I liked The Mask of Mirrors so much because it's mostly a con artist heist story.
Sweet.
It's not the part I like the most about it, but
that part isn't done very well, so it's a good thing you don't like that part.
Hilarious. Fight.
But I mean, I really enjoy The Mask of Mirrors, to the point where I enjoyed it so much that I almost knew instantly that there's no universe in which Leanna would have liked it. That is how our tastes work. But no, I mean, because I normally don't like con artist characters. Like, I don't mind the Davabad trilogy, but that has a con artist character in it. And that's my least favorite part of it because I don't think she's a good con artist. I think I'm told all the time why she's good at stuff, and I never feel like she's good at it. And I thought that Ren was a better con artist in this, but I also liked The Mask of Mirrors more for the like ballroom dancing. So stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm excited to read it. I'm excited, Angela. I hope I am on your.
It is a straightforward narrative. It is linear.
I like that. Hey, you've sold me.
So yeah, the opposite of Leanna's, which is really par for our
funny.
friendship. That's how that goes.
That's very funny. All right, Leanna.
I don't know if this is, can you say a Mary Sue is a trope?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Or Gary Stew. So I don't like Mary Sue's and Gary Stews, but I sure do love the Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. And I don't, for people who say that Kvothe is a Mary Sue, I don't think that he's not, but I just think that it's just like with like chosen ones and love triangles and things like that. Like there is a time when the way that it's handled, the way it's written, that it works. And I think that part of like, well, one, Rothfuss's writing is beautiful. Two, it helps that Kvothe is telling his own story so that like he's an unreliable narrator. Embellishment and like self-aggrandizement is like written in. And then he does have enough like hardship in his life to where that kind of does balance things out. And you almost need him to be like superhuman to like get through that. And then just the fact that it's like pitched to you and like when you go into it, the way your understanding of what this is going to be is that this is a man who became a legend in his own time. And for like that to be the case, like they're gonna have to be some kind of crazy amazing. And he does like a lot to kind of subvert that, even where he even says, you know, a lot of the best stories about me he made up and they're lies, and he admits they're lies. So then like as amazing as he is, and as much of a Mary Sue as he actually is, his legend is even greater. And he like, so like by comparison to his legend, he's less of a Mary Sue than that. So it works for me.
Shockingly, I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind Name of the Wind. I mean, the only thing I ever mind is I always get stressed every time he got money because I knew he was going to be done with it.
I mean, honestly, I just like the experience of reading Kingkiller is half just like, wow, ambience, and half just like constantly stressed out about Kvothe being stupid.
I got so stressed every time he got money, like irrationally stressed.
I got stressed anytime he like talked or interacted with another human because I was like, he's going to piss them off. He's going to piss off somebody who's nearby. He's going to like do something wrong. He's going to lose his money. He's like, it's always going to go bad.
Do you not like Name of the Wind? Are you the one that doesn't like Name of the Wind? Someone doesn't like it.
Have you lost your mind?
I'm really tired.
Or just someone in
like it.
I'm really tired. Someone doesn't. Someone we know
doesn't like Name of the Wind.
I'm sure someone in the world.
Evie DNF'd it.
I have a feeling I'm not going to like it.
I haven't read it.
I haven't read it. So
I think you might like it though, because it has a really easy writing style. Like it's not purple prose. It just flows. It's
okay. But I just know that it's similar to Empire.
Evie hates Name of the Wind.
I know it's Evie, but
Evie DNF'd it. I told her she would
I also
like
think
it.
it's Angela Klaus, because I think she's trying to keep Katrina from reading it. Not you, Angela. Different Angela.
You need to give her another name. Every time in your videos.
If I'm talking about you, I say Angela from Literature Science Alliance, because you have a channel. If she had a channel, I'd say the same thing. I haven't had to deal with another Angela in my circle since like 8th grade. I know 3. Like. In Discord and BookTube, and it's annoying.
So one of them has to go.
There are way too many Jesses and Jessies.
Oh my goodness, we need to get them out.
Look,
get them out of here.
Stephanie's are bad too. There's a lot of Stephanies.
Jesse, you are Jessie. So whenever I say Jesse at home, Christina knows that I mean Jessie May. And then if it's anyone else, I will add a qualifier like Jessie Bookish Mom or whatever Jesse.
Fair. Yay! I'm the Jessie. All right. Go ahead, Alex.
So I don't want to spoil anything that happens. So I'll just say I'm not going to relax. a character dying and coming back to life and or a resurrection trope of sorts happens at some point in the Sun Eater series, and it's done wonderfully. And that's all I'll say. That's all I'm going to say about that. Wow. Normally, I hate that kind of thing, and there's actually a couple series that do that.
I mean, you're technically right. It wouldn't have occurred to me to describe it that way, but it's just you're right. That's what that is.
Well, we're gonna quickly move on, I guess. So I'm gonna say Insta Love. I don't like Insta Love. Can you guess which book I'm gonna say? Strange the Dreamer. Strange the Dreamer. I love it. It's just so like sweet. And I know it's like the least part or your least favorite part of the book, right, Leanna?
I was gonna say I'm one of those weirdos who likes the beginning the best, and everyone's like, just push through the beginning. I'm like, no, the beginning is the best part.
Well, how old are they in that book? Because I think Insta-Love and YA is not a bad trope, because that's, at least in my experience, how dumb my brain was when I was 13. So
that's true. I do love it in Strange the Dreamer. So
what about Liene and Nieves and Eye of the World? That didn't get you?
You know, some YouTubers really thought the show did it less good than the books, and I'm like, what book did you read?
You couldn't do it worse than in the book.
You
It's just
couldn't.
not possible.
There's nothing. So if the show just doesn't exist at that point, if you have to do worse, makes no sense.
All right, Alan, we'll have you go first. I love this author, but I didn't like this book.
Are you doing that because you don't want to say it? Because I have some answers for you.
No, I'm
That's
thinking.
he doesn't know.
You
I'm
just
thinking.
talked about a John Gwen book you didn't like.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, it wasn't that I didn't like it. It's just, it just took me a long time to get through it, and it wasn't my favorite. I don't like, I hate Pyramids by Terry Pratchett. It's bad. So
I
I'll go
was
ahead and
wondering
say-
about that when I was looking at a Discworld
It's
list, and I'm like, what's
It's pretty
series is
early on,
Pyramids
right?
in?
What
Yeah,
about
it's like-
We
it's
Free
like-
Men?
It's the 8th book. We Free Men's better than Pyramids. It's the 8th book. It's the one right before Guards. Pyramids is
Yeah.
not good. Only like super pretentious like Pratchett fan. No one actually likes Pyramids. There are people who like want to be, I guess, better than you. That'll be like, Pyramids actually isn't that bad. Yes, it is. It's exactly that bad.
So I would like
It's
it.
terrible. The first half of Pyramids is really cool. You learn about, it's the only one that you spend in the assassin school. So you learn about the assassin school, which is freaking awesome. The second half is absolute nonsense. It has to do with like the pyramidal shape, like the triangle shape being like nexes of power. So it like channels energies, like the pyramids are there to like channel this weird. And most of Pratchett's conclusions that aren't in a City Watch book are really abstract especially when he deals with magic. This is the worst of them all. I haven't reread it, so maybe I won't hate it as much, but last time I read it, 1 star. Hate it.
Wow.
So, like,
hate
if I
Pyramids.
like Color of Magic like a weirdo, where do you think I'll fall with Pyramids?
I mean, I like Color Magic better than Pyramids. Color Magic better than Pyramids. Pyramids sucks.
I mean, I just know Color of Magic has that whole D&D scene that people don't like.
No, Color Magic is good. Pyramid sucks. It's just dumb. It's stupid.
That's a good answer. All
It's
right,
better.
Miles.
We Free Men's better.
Okay. Miles, you have one?
Oh
Let's
yeah.
see.
Get him, Klaus.
Rule of Wolves. Rule of Wolves by Lee Bardugo.
Okay, let's
My
hear it.
hate for this book is as big as space.
I thought you gave that 5 stars.
Alan,
No, I'm just kidding.
I was never as disappointed by a book and as offended by a book as I was by this one, because I have loved everything ever written by Lee Bardugo. I even loved the entire Shadow and Bone trilogy. I think I gave 3
You
stars
loved King of Scars?
to. Okay,
Okay.
not
You
everything,
gave it 4
but I
stars,
was
so it's
fine.
the same as Eye of the World. Moving on.
Yeah, I was fine with
An
King of
Empire
Scars
Shadow.
until the ending happened, when I was like, are you actually going to do this? And then I was in Rule of Wolves hoping that she hadn't actually done it, but she was actually doing it. And then she was doing all the other stuff, bringing back characters whose arcs were completed, and it turned into the Fellowship of the Grishaverse, and it was horrible. And I was expecting Matthias to show up at some point because everybody was in the book. And the book is so beautiful. It has the prettiest cover I've ever seen, but it arrived here. I read it in 2 days, and then I sold the freaking book for, I think, $5 because I couldn't bear looking at it anymore because it was so bad.
This is why I haven't read it yet.
I just love
Yeah.
how offended you are by it.
I love
It's-
Fellowship of the
Defend your
Grishaverse.
whole
That's really
being.
fun.
It felt like a cash grab for the Shadow and Bone show to somehow artificially connect the 2 storylines, and just it was a disgrace. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I liked the book, but that is hilarious.
know.
I mean, I can't disagree with any of it. I liked it. All right, Angela.
This was the first one I wrote down when you sent me the questions. Like, oh yes, it is this one. This is the entire Reckoner series by Brandon Sanderson. I hate this book with every fiber of my being. And I still
Wait,
own it because it's in hardback.
We were sent the questions.
Huh? Yeah, well, Jesse sent
Just
them
roll
to
with
me.
it.
I
Maybe I'm
sent
just
them to
special.
Angela, not to you. Sorry.
Alan, I never prepare for these.
The tag is
It's fine.
online, so I thought.
I mean, I just
Okay,
sat
I
down at like
feel
4
like-
p.m. today and wrote some stuff down. But the Reckoner
I feel like the questions
trilogy-
were sent to me, but I did not check them. So.
So sorry.
Which one is the Reckoner? Is it...
So that's Steelheart is the first one.
Okay, Steelheart, yeah.
This one.
So did it just get worse, and then by book 3, it was like, or was it just book
So
3
here's the thing,
happened?
you know, you read adult Sanderson and you're used to things concluding in a cool way. And what's happening with Cytonic, which I haven't read yet, but based on what Jesse said, it seems like he's going to pull one over on Skyward. But when he writes young adult, he does really weird things that he doesn't do in his adult. And suddenly it's like the power of love. And I'm just like, what is happening?
Oh no,
Is
I'm
it-
not gonna like that.
So does he
at all.
write things that he like thinks that children want to hear?
I don't know. I think it's actually maybe okay for I know actually a lot of like teenage men who like this series. My big issue is David, the main character. It's first person, and it's a similar issue I have with Skyward with Spencer with first person. He makes characters that I'm sure people relate to who have quirks that are not like abnormal, but I don't like being in someone's head who is that quirky. Like it's just one of those things. And David likes to make metaphors that he thinks are funny. And he talks about all the time in his head how funny his metaphors are. And
I think
hate
I
it.
understand now why you also didn't like
God.
Gideon the Ninth.
Honestly, though, that sounds like Sanderson humor, which is probably.
But I
his
love
weakest
Mistborn
aspect
Era
for me.
2, which most people who don't like his
See,
humor
I
don't
hate
like that.
Era 2 because I can't stand Wayne. And his-
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind
like
Wayne.
Titanic, Angela.
But
Maybe-
like by the time I got to Calamity, where I kept thinking, well, it's just the third book. These are quick reads. I kind of like what's happening, but it also has like angsty like romance that he doesn't normally like really have in his books. Like
Yeah.
it basically has all the YA tropes. And I get to Calamity and I get the answer. Like it answers the question of why are these heroes like evil all of a sudden? And I was just like, no.
I think I might just go ahead and unhaul your because
Like, everything you said about
saying is how
Titanic, I
feel
have
about
not read Titanic, but I went through a similar arc with the Reckoners.
Oh my god. I might just have to get rid of it.
Yeah. And I only own them just because like it was back when I was buying books and not taking them from the library, and I have 2 nice hardbacks. I don't know what to do with them.
Oh no.
Sell 'em.
Sell it.
I know, but then I have to ship them, and the activation energy of getting me to the post office is too high.
Is there a used bookstore by you?
Yeah, but they don't take hardbacks.
What?
What?
Dang.
What kind of what?
In their defense,
What kind of
it's in
business
Boston.
model
They
is
have
that?
a finite space, but they don't normally take hardbacks.
All right. Well.
Yeah. But that's my big one. Is I'm a huge Sanderson fan. Every other book I think by Sanderson, I've given like 5 or 4.5 stars, and this is all like a 1.5 to 2 star series for me. I hate it a lot.
I am so offended.
Do you like it?
As a Sanderson fanboy from day one, I am deeply offended that you didn't like one of those.
Honestly, you know, when you first posted your Broken Earth trilogy thumbnail about how it's overrated, I didn't think we could be friends. But now that you like Words of Radiance, I'm willing to reconsider this.
Just digging the hole deeper.
So
I don't know. He
that
might
was a
be
very-
Oathbringer.
clickbait,
and then
clickbait.
watch
No,
it
he won't
burn
like
Rorschach to
Oathbringer,
the
but
ground.
I'm prepared for that. No one likes Oathbringer except for
I love Oathbringer, so how dare you?
Oathbringer's great.
Oathbringer's too long. I think we can all agree it's too
They're
long.
all too long.
It's my least
Yeah, but
favorite.
that one's 1,300 pages.
Well, I
It is
mean,
my least favorite.
you like Dalinar, then you'll like Oathbringer.
Yeah, Dalinar's interesting. He's not that interesting.
Okay, Leanna, what's your answer?
Stardust by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah,
Neil
it's not
Gaiman's
his best.
A lot of people, that's their favorite though. So
They have not seen the movie because that movie's great.
I do like the movie, and I think I mean Neil Gaiman has like I don't think he's come out and said the movie's better than my book, but like he's been kind of like, yeah, the movie is might be better. It's also a very different vibe from the book. It's a lot funnier. The book, I mean, it didn't need to be funny, but I just felt like for an author who can imbue like such magic into like the everyday and can make the ordinary extraordinary. Now he's writing like a fairy tale where everything's magical, and it was like devoid of any like magical feeling to me. And I was like,
Wow.
how did you make like a drugstore candle in someone's kitchen feel like the epitome of magical? And then a fairy tale was like, no.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, I like the movie. I think my issue is I watched the movie and then read the book, and I expected there to be even more characterization and connection and humor in the book, because normally books have more of that than the movie
I mean,
adaptation.
and that too, like I guess part of it maybe stems from his attempt at making it a more fairy tale-esque style, but I feel like his ability to like characterize his characters in like 2 sentences, and where they feel like 3-dimensional humans in a very short amount of time, and everyone in Stardust felt like an actual fairy tale has more characterization. I was like, where is Gaiman in this? How did Gaiman write this?
Wow. Good answer. All right, Alex.
All right, so I'm gonna go with good old Frank Herbert because I continued the Dune series, and
Read it smarter, Alex.
I'm just too dumb for them books. I love Dune. It's one of the few books that I've read multiple times. I talk about it a lot on my channel, and I dislike Dune Messiah quite a bit, even though everyone praises it and says that you need to read it. You don't. I mean, it makes sense for like where the plot goes, but I didn't like it. And then I almost hated Children of Dune, and I am probably not even going to continue at this point because I don't know what DMT trip he went on as he started writing these books, but like if you read Dune, nothing about the following novels are anything like it. The writing style literally changes. The characters start being dumb. The plot is really uninteresting, and he's also just doing like really super weird, random sci-fi things that I'm just like, so why is this where this is going? And then by God Emperor, I know it gets even more insane. So I don't know. The sequels to Dune are just not doing it for me right now.
You want to read something normal like The Dark Tower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But see that
like
so
what
I'm contradicting myself.
Yeah,
Drawing
what
of the Three
spoils
was one of the most insane books I've ever read.
It's
But
so
it was
good.
so entertaining, and I loved it the entire time. And I was seriously like, "What is happening? This is absolutely bananas." And Children of Dune, I was just like, "This is really dumb. Why is this happening?"
Spicy.
Bummer. I'm going to say Cytonic. Angela, you kind of stole
Yes.
I've never gotten to talk about the Reckoners on YouTube, and so I've been holding it in for a long time.
Jesse, are you saying you did not enjoy Cytonic?
I hated the answers to the questions were the worst possible answers. They make no sense. It's not sci-fi. It's not sci-fi. Someone commented and was like, I get confused when people say if it's not sci-fi, it's like fantasy. Sci-fi is fantasy. There's always fantasy. No, there's a difference between the two genres. And Skyward is now full on fantasy. Angela, you have to tell me when you read Cytonic.
I'm waiting for the fourth book so I can just read them, and I have to read all the novellas.
What if you
apparently
don't want to continue like me? Then you could save time and not get the fourth book.
Here's the thing. I will continue. I mean, so I was hopeful in Starsight because Spensa was becoming more likable to me. Because that's my issue. My issue is Spensa, and we're with her like all the time.
Yes. Yeah. What did you think of the couple answers you got in Starsight?
It was fine. I was okay. I mean,
that's how
we didn't get a lot in Starsight. We got a little.
You get to Cytonic and you get those answers, and we'll see how you feel. I'm just very curious. A lot of people like it, so yeah.
The way Jesse feels is how I feel about Mistborn Secret History, where most people love what happened in that, and I'm just like on like the complete opposite of like I hate that he gave us the answers to everything, and his answers were crap.
Ooh, maybe I won't.
I read Mistborn because Mistborn Secret History dropped right after Bands of Mourning came out, and I was really excited because I just read Bands of Mourning, so I read it back. So I was on the hype of like just finishing a book I really liked. So I don't hate it as much as you and Al. So
to me, it was like Ridley Scott like continuing to make alien movies, where it's just like you don't need to keep explaining stuff. Like just leave some of it as a mystery. And he's just like, nope, this is what happened.
That's true. Like Prometheus has good moments, but on a whole should not have happened.
Prometheus is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Do you know how you dodge a rolling spaceship? You move to the left or to the right.
You run straight under it for like miles.
That's not a good movie. It's not a good movie.
Which one? Prometheus?
Prometheus.
Oh, it's the worst movie I've ever seen.
People are drunk on Michael Fassbender. That's their problem. Anybody who says they like it, it's not good.
Do you know what you do when you walk into a cave of mysterious alien eggs?
What?
You touch them.
You stick your face in it.
100%. 100%.
And you take your mask off.
Professionals hand-selected to go on this mission, and you act so stupid. I hated that.
It's not a good movie. It's not a good
movie.
movie.
But no, Alien and Aliens are good.
The first thing that you do when you land on a foreign planet that you've never been to,
take your helmet off.
Everything. It's the stupidest thing.
Alex, the natives, like the local flora and fauna, need to see your face.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't they take off their helmets? It's so stupid.
No, like right away. They walk out of their ship and they're just like, yep, we're good.
It is a movie that you're so anxious because you're like, have none of these people ever watched a sci-fi movie? Like, you don't even need training. Like,
and
you
they're
just
supposed to be the best of the best. It's
They're
just crap. Anyways, I feel like that's like a good note to stop on. I didn't want to make this too long because I know, Klaus, that it's probably 4 a.m. now at your time. So I didn't want to keep you up too much longer. So thank you so much for joining.
Klaus, do you have to teach tomorrow?
No,
Wow.
absolutely not.
By tomorrow,
okay.
you mean today.
I was gonna
Alan,
say.
I make bad life choices all the time, but I don't make these bad life choices.
I was like, you must be like super
We're gonna
powered,
stop it
Klaus.
here. This was really fun. Thank you all so much for joining, and I hope that you enjoyed our gushing and ranting. I felt like it was a good balance. Got to gush and
We're
rant.
all still friends.
Yes. So all of the books that we mentioned will be down below, as well as all the channels. Once again, all of the AdSense and revenue from merchandise goes to charity. So make sure to check out our Redbubble and our whatever else we have. Whatever else the other merchandise stores. I'm the worst. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.